I do want to get to know you, but obviously, I know you experienced a lot yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's not going to be a thing where...
Straight away, yeah.
You've fully moved on from your situation? You're not going to tell me...
No, that's dead in the water.
Because imagine, oh my God, I would like, take me away.
No.
I would say free Bilicus.
I really want Bilicus and Cash to work. I really do. I hope they find that spark that's needed for them to work. I hope Cash hasn't made any advances because he was being respectful to his friend Boris, and hopefully this will work. If it doesn't work, then can we please bring them in their own person? If everybody else can have a person brought in for them, Dijon had multiple people brought in for him that he didn't want. Can we please just bring in 2 people? One for Bilicus, one for Cash, if the 2 of them cannot couple up. And the audacity for Boris to break things off or end things off with Bilicus and immediately go and pull Emma and go to the hideaway. Make that make sense, someone. What have we missed out? Because it doesn't sort of compute the fact that 1 minute they were not talking and then suddenly they're going to the hideaway, they're kissing, and they're going, what have we missed as viewers? And I'm also happy for Yas. She deserves this. She really deserves this. She deserves to have a cutesy date. I love her with Jamie. I love how he compliments her. And I can't wait to see that journey. Anyway, hey there. Thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Click the like button. Turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos. And definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island UK Season 12, Episode 38. So the recoupling is finished. Everyone moves away from the fire pit. You have Tony and Harrison left at the fire pit because they're embarrassed because of what they did. 1. 2, Harrison is shocked that Tony outed him. I don't think he expected her to out him. I think he expected her to just play along and just say, this was my decision to choose you. I choose you and you're the person I want and I don't want anybody else. So the idea that she not only chose him, but she also outed him to the rest of the group, that the reason why I'm making this decision is because Harrison has said A, B, D, E, F, G to me, is something he wasn't expecting. So he's asking her, I'm surprised you picked me. And it's like, what do you mean you're surprised? You pulled her aside for a chat. You told her how you felt. You told her that you wanted to be in a couple with her. So what part of that is shocking for you? Make it make sense. Tony's questioning, when did you decide you were going to ask me for a chat? And he says, well, I was speaking to Harry. And it's like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. In the meantime, you have, Meg and Helena speaking to Lauren. She is distressed. She's crying. She feels embarrassed. She feels humiliated. And it's like, the problem with Lauren is her own worst enemy. Harrison is wrong for what he did, but Lauren is also her own worst enemy. Because it seems like, apparently, the rumor is she and Ty were part of the trial run for Love Island Season 12, and they hooked up in the villa. And then when they left the villa, they were still hooking up. And now, I don't know whether they broke up because they were coming back or what happened there. I don't know. So she needs to learn to sort of establish a relationship without being physically intimate. I'm not slut-shaming her. I'm just saying what I feel. This is what I feel. She needs to maybe take her sort of physical intimacy away and try and get to know the guy first before doing anything else. The girls are trying to console her. The clique is looking for a member because it can't just be the 2 of them. So they're going to console her because she's got no one else. She can't go to Shakira and them because they are Tony's friends. So the clique stepped in. You have Dijon and Harry having a conversation with Dijon sort of disapproving that, how could Harrison do that? He's had SCX with Lauren. Lauren is a better match for him. Why would he feel it was necessary to go back to Tony? On his part, Harry is saying, he told me that he still has feelings for her. And so, maybe that's why he pulled her for a chat. And it's like, nah. As far as I'm concerned, with Harry cannot do his nonsense because Emma's there and he knows Emma will call him out. And I feel like this is why he has decided to live vicariously through Harrison and has decided to support whatever nonsense Harrison gets up to, because there was no reason for that. There really was no reason for that. At that moment, you have Cash walk across and is checking in with Lauren because she is crying and is just making sure she's okay. And so for the clique to step up and try and hug him, suddenly you've got the strength to hug him. You suddenly know his name. You want to hug him. You want to console him. Make that make sense? I don't get it. And I didn't quite understand it. So they're consoling him and they're trying to check in with him to find out when exactly did he know that this was happening. And he says he had no idea that this was happening. He was only surprised to to find out when she stood up there and started saying anything, because he was under the impression that he was under the impression that Harrison and Tony were finished, because that's what she had told him. So for her to stand up there and say that she's got feelings for him and they've had this conversation, this is something he wasn't expecting, this is something he was surprised to hear. And so he is still trying to process that. And it's really sad because he's in the situation whereby at least she should have told him the truth. She should have pulled him aside and said to him, I've had a conversation with Harrison. I don't know which way I'm going to go, but I just want to give you a heads up that I might end up not picking you. That would have been good for him. At that precise moment, you have Harrison decide to sort of bring his hot ass across to have a conversation with the girls, and he's sort of asking to speak to Lauren. Given how much of an uproar there was when Andrada was trying to listen into the Dijon and Megan argument, it's surprising that suddenly Megan has made herself the spokesperson for, Lauren, and she's telling Lauren that you can't speak to him, you don't need to go there, and sort of telling Harrison off. I'm happy that he stood his ground, but still at the same time, that was not the time. They were right, it wasn't the time, but they didn't need to involve themselves in that business because it had nothing to do with them. So they go to the fire pit for a chat. She is still distraught. She is crying because she's saying to him, you did me wrong. You lied to me. You told me that, you wanted us to go on dates. You were talking about life outside of the villa. So the idea that suddenly you and Tony had a conversation behind my back doesn't make sense. And it's like, I don't even think he knows what he wants. I think he's just doing what will keep him in the villa. I think he looked at it and realized that if Tony picked Cash and if there was a public vote, he was most likely going home, because at the end of the day, he had already been vulnerable in his couple. And if he stayed in his couple, he was going to go home, and he's not ready to go home. In my opinion, this is why he decided to couple up with Tony. She kept crying. She was distraught. So he then separated from her and went to the den and was crying in the den. So Harry came in to check on him, and he says, I feel terrible. I was still thinking about Tony. This is why I wanted to couple up with her. I still think I still like Lauren a lot as well. And it's like, this little boy is confused. I don't understand why the girls are falling over themselves for him, because he barely knows what he wants. He doesn't even know what he wants when it comes to the relationship. So the idea that the girls are thinking he's serious doesn't make sense. Dijon and Connor join in, and Dijon is sort of saying to him, I thought you and Tony were finished. I actually feel like you like Lauren more. And it's like, this is not your place to speak, Dijon. This is not your place to speak. I have a feeling that Dijon hasn't got over the fact that Tony embarrassed him and called him out. And so because of that, this is why he has this hard-on for Tony, and anything she says and does, he is always against it. It wasn't his place to give you an opinion. It wasn't his place to get involved, because he and Meg don't like people getting involved in their business. So I'm surprised that he felt the need to get involved in Tony and Harrison's business. It would have been better for him to sort of mind his own business. Tony then pulls Cash for a chat, and Cash is right to say he was embarrassed. He really was embarrassed, because there was no need for her to do all that. She could have easily told him, I'm not feeling anything. I just want to keep it stepping. Because he said, for the past 5 days in bed, I've noticed that something wasn't right. And so for you to not say anything and then stand up at your coupling and say you want to couple up with him doesn't make sense to me. That was embarrassing. I feel like you were just waiting for, a go ahead. That's the impression that I get, that she was waiting for Harrison to dump Lauren, and Harrison wasn't dumping Lauren, and this is why she was sticking to Cash until he dumped Lauren. Had he dumped Lauren on the day after he came back from Casa, she would have dumped Cash. So she was holding on to Cash, regardless of the fact that he was giving her every single thing that she wanted from a guy until she found her person. And so I'm really sad for Cash. I really am. I hope he and Bilicus, as I've said before, give it a go, because Bilicus is in a no-win relationship. So maybe if Cash and Bilicus can couple up, that will make more sense. So you have Harrison sit down for a chat with Dijon, and Dijon is trying to convince him that you like Lauren more than you like Tony. So I don't understand why you went back to Tony. You didn't need to speak to her. You will always have feelings for an ex even after you've broken up. So there was no need. Yeah, that makes sense. But still, he's not the right messenger. It's not his place to involve himself in somebody else's business. And so my opinion is this. Dijon will always do anything that's in his best interest. He knows he needs numbers to stay in the villa if the public are not on his side. And because he needs numbers, This is why he's always trying to firm up couples that will benefit him. We all remember how he got Helena and Harry back together, and this is what he's trying to do because he knows Lauren is a member of the clique. And so if he can get Lauren on board with Harrison, then at least there's 6 of them. If there ever is an Islander vote, he's already halfway there to getting the full numbers to save himself. That's the impression that I get. While Dijon and Harrison are having this conversation, you have Tony come up and say, Dijon, you do not need to tell Harrison what to do. Harrison is man enough to make up his own mind. Allow him to make up his own mind and choose what he wants to do. You don't need to give your opinion on that. He can make his mind of who he wants and then take it from there. Dijon was embarrassed because at that moment he immediately stood up. He said, Tony, I'm not coming for you. And it's like, you are coming for Tony. She can hear you. You're in the same villa. You're just standing a few feet away from her. What do you think was going to happen? Did you think that she was just going to sit there and allow you to speak about her and not say anything? I didn't get his genius idea at that point. I really didn't, because he didn't need to involve himself in that business. At that point, you have inside the villa, you have Ty and Cash sort of bump into each other. Ty is trying to sort of check in with Cash, and Cash seems very distressed. So they ended up going to the terrace for a chat. And Cash is really broken. And it broke my heart to see him cry because he didn't deserve to be embarrassed, to be humiliated, to be treated like he was nothing in the villa. The producers have a way of doing this to people. They have a way of humbling people that haven't done anything but just exist, and it's not necessary. And I feel sorry. I actually cried because it wasn't necessary for them to make him cry like that. So Tony and Harrison go and sit down for a chat, and it's like there's no need for these chats. They feel bad. They should be allowed to feel as bad as they've made other people to feel. Because Tony's saying, Harrison was saying you should have said nice things, and she was like, no, that would be rubbing it in people's faces. Which is the truth, though. Why would she say something positive when she's breaking to people's hearts? What part of that makes him believe that would have been a great idea? He talks about unfinished business, and it's like, nah, I don't think so. There was no unfinished business. You like playing games, you like the idea of still staying in the villa, and this is why you chose to stay with Tony. Meg and Dijon go to the den, and she says, I need the thesaurus, I need to find better words. She has this envy for Shakira, and it's now becoming more visible because she was complaining that Shakira always knows the right things to say. And it's like, books are not illegal in the UK. You can get a book, you can go to the library and pick up a book and read any book you want and improve your vocabulary. Even without that, you can use your phone, go download some books or whatever and learn better words. You don't need to, belittle somebody just because you lack the intellect needed. I don't know. Connor and Shakira were sitting on the terrace. They're having a chat. They're happy that they're in this space. Connor tried to imply that he's coupled up with a lot of people, and after a few days it has worn thin. But with Shakira, she's always been there, and it's like it's only a matter of time. He's going to show you who he is, and when the two of you fall out, it's going to be really bad because this is what Shakira was afraid of, that their friendship is not going to survive whatever nonsense happens in their relationship as a couple. They shared a kiss. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't see them as a couple, so I find it a bit difficult to sort of understand what made the two of them think this was a genius idea. Inside the villa, everyone is getting ready for bed, and you have Tony having a back and forth with Dijon. She's sort of saying to Dijon, why are you involving yourself in our business? You have nothing to do with our business. And it's like Dijon just likes the idea of getting involved, because at the end of the day, if he can upset Tony, that will make him happier. You have Helena bump into Cash. She is saying, it's not your fault. Don't let this break you. You didn't do anything bad. They are the bad people because they have lied to you guys. And partly I agree with it. But the other part of me knows that Helena is just doing this because she wants to get at Tony. Because at the end of the day, Tony ended up with the guy that she wanted. That's it. You have in the bed Harry with Harrison. He's telling... Harry's a menace because he's telling Harrison that don't worry, you can always get Lauren back. Besides, if I want, I can get Shakira back. And it's like, which part of that has told you that Shakira still wants anything to do with you? Shakira has moved on, so the idea and the audacity to expect her to want anything to do with you is you being delulu. Everyone gets ready for bed. You have Harrison playing. Harrison is playing stupid games because he's in the bathroom flirting with Tony, and then from there he's reassuring Lauren, and it's like, why won't these people sit down with this genius and just be honest? Because Lauren has already spoken to Helena and Meg and was asking them, should I tell Tony that we're physically intimate? And they're saying no, let him tell her because that's his business. And for sure, let him tell her. That's his nonsense. He created that monster. He will have to deal with it. Everyone goes to sleep, and so I can't wait to see what drama comes up in the morning. So in the morning, the islanders wake up, and it seems the only story is the Harrison situation. There's no other story being told in the villa outside of the Harrison situation. So you have a debrief whereby you have Harrison sit down with Harry and Connor. And Harry is saying to Harrison, you need to tell Tony that you had sex with Lauren so that she's in the know, because it's going to come out. Whether you tell her or whether you don't, she's going to find out. So you're better off sort of going into damage control situation. And he was asking, how do I deliver the information? And it's like, why do you need to ask other people for advice on how to speak to someone that you say you care about? Make that make sense to everyone. Why would you feel the need to ask Harry and Connor to say, how do I deliver this information? When you were doing it, did you not stop and ask yourself, what am I doing? How am I going to be able to explain this away? Because it's not a good look. It really is not a good look. Anyway, he's told, go in, flirt with her first, and then you can tell her what's happened. And it's like, these are not the best of friends. These are not the best of friends. So I don't get it. Anyway, he goes to Tony. Tony is sitting with Yasmin and he asks for a chat. He then reveals that, I just wanted... First off, he starts off by flirting. Oh, you look amazing. This is a great swimsuit. And it's like, who do you think you're talking to? Do you think you're talking to a kid? Do you think she's an idiot? Anyway, he then decides to tell her that, I just wanted you to know that Lauren and I were physically intimate. And the way he said it, he made it seem like it's only been a one-time situation. And we all know that it hasn't. He's done this more than once. Lauren has already owned up to 2 times. What else has he done in those beds with her that only he and her know? And Tony is dumbfounded. She doesn't know what to think. She doesn't know what to say. And it's like, this should be a warning sign, a red neon sign that if he can leave someone he's been physically intimate with and without even blinking an eyelid, imagine what he's going to do to you. That's the thing. What is he going to do to you? Because if he had sex with someone and was promising her the world, and then suddenly he's just jumped ship and he's moved onto your ship, how is he going to leave you? Simple. So I don't get why she continued to even entertain his nonsense. Anyway, at that moment, Tony then went to inside the bedrooms with Shakira. And she told Shakira that, I just wanted you to know that apparently it wasn't just a handsy. They actually went all the way. They had sex. Shakira is dumbfounded. She can't understand how this happened. And it's like, how did people not hear him asking for a condom in the bedroom? Everyone was in the same bed as him, in the same bedroom as him. They should have heard, or someone should have told Tony, unless they was sort of sworn to secrecy to say, don't tell Tony, I will tell her myself. And so you now have Tony sitting with Shakira, and she's sort of saying to Shakira, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to think. I'm dumbfounded. I don't know what to say. Helena at this point comes in. Obviously, Helena has been in the know, and she said, oh, has he told you? She says, yes, I don't even know what to think. All the girls are realizing that this man is evil. Because it's evil to do that, to sleep with someone on TV, not even a private room, on TV, in a room with other people. And then the next thing is you jump ship. It more or less implies that that's all you wanted her for. And so for the girls, they're sort of questioning him. Yas comes in, she finds out as well, because they were not in the know. The only people that were in the know were the clique and the boys. Tony and the rest of the other girls, they had no idea what was going on. So it's now a matter of how do we deal with this? They go to the den. They're sort of trying to sort of understand how to move on. And it's like, the only way to move on is to break up with him. End of story. You have Shakira having a conversation with Yas and Jamie, and they're just chatting. I think Jamie's a great sort of partner for Yas. I think he pacifies her. I think he brings out the quieter and the more sort of, I don't even know what quality to say in him. She just comes, she's always been a character, but I like the fact that he doesn't sort of try and smother her and silence her other quirky sides, but he actually just allows her to sort of embrace that and be the best version of herself. While they're having a conversation, Jamie receives a text message that reads, Jamie, it's time for you and Yasmin to head out on your first date together. Please get ready to leave the villa. Hashtag balance is everything. Hashtag float with finesse. And it was really cute. I didn't know that they were doing so well that suddenly they would be sent on a date. Because normally on Love Island, if you're sent on a date, you're doing well. And going on a date comes with its own obstacles, because the next thing is they're sending in someone who's Jamie's type to try and break, Jamie and Yas. So hopefully he doesn't bite and she doesn't bite, and they stay as a couple because they really seem cute. They get ready, they leave the villa. And as they're leaving, you have Boris and Bilicus go to the fire pit. I called it. I know I sounded like a Debbie Downer, but I remember saying very clearly that I don't trust Boris, because Boris apparently has been on a Slovenian reality TV show. Although it was about farming, I felt he wasn't 100%, and he has just proved it. Because he speaks to Bilicus around in circles until he comes to the fact that, oh, we're over. And it's like he's been biding his time. He really has. He's been trying to put on a persona so that Bilicus can pick him. And then now she's picked him and he's safe in the villa. He's now decided that it's over. I'm happy that Bilicus allowed him to break things off. And I'm happy that she didn't argue with him. She just took whatever he was saying and kept it stepping, because she knows for a fact that he used her to stay in the villa. That's it. He used her to stay in the villa. He used her to recouple with him. He could have easily told her when he knew that they were going to recouple, and she could have picked anyone else. But he decided to keep it stepping. That way she would pick him and he would be safe in the villa, as far as I'm concerned. We get to see Jamie and Yaz's date. I really loved it. I thought it was the cutest thing ever. I think they're sweet. I think they balance each other out. Jamie comes across as a very quiet, humble guy, and somehow he's able to sort of balance Yaz in the sense that she's a tamer version of Yaz GBT, and she also brings out the quirky side of him. So I love their date. I thought it was cute. They were floating on those paddles. It was the sweetest thing ever. I couldn't have asked for more. You then have Boris go and pull Emma for a chat. I didn't even know that they were chatting. I really didn't. Because for them to say, oh, now we're allowed to touch, now we're allowed to do ABCD, it tells you that they must have been having chats, but production haven't been showing us their chats or whatever flirting that was going on. We were just sat there and just watching. So I have a feeling it's either Emma gave him an ultimatum and said, I can't continue to pursue something with you if you don't end things with Bilicus. And I think this is why he's decided to end things with Bilicus, so that he can fully pursue that. They went to the hideaway. That's being messy. You've just broken up with someone and the next thing you're going to the hideaway. That tells me that you really were never into your partner. You were just pushing it for as long as you could stay in the villa. You have Harry and Helena. They're on the daybeds and they're watching all this take place, and you have Helena say, oh, I hope they don't go into the pool. Harry on his part is saying, oh, I hope they don't kiss. And it's like, whether they kiss or not, that is none of your business. That is truly none of your business, because you are in your couple with Helena. You haven't bothered to explore anything with her, so allow her to be. On the outside, you have Bilicus go for a chat with Cash. I've said this before and I'll say this again. I think Bilicus and Cash make a better couple. I'm going to say this again. I think Bilicus and Cash make a better couple. I think they'll complement each other. Yes, there is a 4-year age gap. Yes, she might be a bit too more mature for him. But at the end of the day, I think they make a better couple, and I think it could actually work out way better for the two of them. I love that Bilicus asked Cash about his situation with Tony, to say, where does that stand? I don't want to try and explore anything with you. If you are still harboring feelings for Tony, then I'd rather leave you. You continue with that and I will do my thing. So I'm happy that he said, with the way things ended, there's no going back. Had it ended in a different manner, then yes, there could have been a possibility for us to explore it. But because of how she ended things with him, he is over and done with it. And so I see them as a cute couple. I know he didn't seem enthusiastic, but I think he's trying to suss out the waters. But I can see them actually working. I can see them actually complementing one another and actually being successful at it. So I hope they give it a chance and they continue to explore that. We get to see the date. They've come out of the ocean. Obviously, they're sitting down. And they're just chatting about their families, what they like about their families, what they don't like. They do share a kiss. And Yaz had to scratch the bejesus out of that poor guy. And he said, oh, this is something new. And it's like, what else has she been doing to him that we have not seen? Because production seems obsessed with Harrison, so we barely get to see other people's journeys. Back in the villa, you have Tony sort of pull Lauren for a chat. I think she must have spoken to Shakira, and Shakira must have told her that you need to go and pull her. You need to apologize to her, because she's apologizing to say, I didn't realize that this is what has happened. I'm just trying. And Lauren saying, oh, did he tell you? And she said, yeah. He went, oh, well, I just wanted him to tell you. I didn't want to be the one to tell you. And good for her. She says she had SEX because she felt they were doing very well. I don't know. I really don't know what Harrison was telling her. I know he was telling about dating her outside the villa. I know he was telling about continuing to explore that and growing with her. But sadly, he's played both girls. As I said before, and I'll say it again, this should be a wake-up call for Tony. This should be enough to tell her that this man is not serious. And if you are not careful, he's going to waste your time. He was panicking because he was busy asking everyone, where are they going, where are they going? And it's like, it's none of your business where they're going. Even if they're going home, it's none of your business. Because you know what you did. You have to own up to it. I'm disappointed that they didn't call him up, because I would have wanted the two of them to have a conversation. Then call him up to the terrace. Have a word with him and tell him it's over, and then keep it stepping and allow him to go and find his own person who'll enjoy his nonsense. I hope Cash and Bilicus make it work. If they don't make it work, can we please bring in 2 more people for them? Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 37. Bye guys.